With Drake Day upon us, we've got two brand new ships flying into the verse. And while I admit the Golem Ox seems really interesting at its price, the Clipper is the first ship we've had in a very long time that feels truly unique. For a while now, CIG has released a steady stream of variants, and even when they introduce something new, it doesn't seem to fill a role that hasn't already been filled to some capacity. The Clipper turns that idea on its head. Just like the Spirits, Zeus, and Cutlasses, you are going to see a lot of these around the verse. I promise you that. I personally adore the Drake Clipper, and for the right citizen, this is going to be your daily driver no matter what. This is the Swiss Army knife of ships with unparalleled utility, especially in its size class. But is it right for you? Hello folks, Space Tech here, and welcome to a review and buyer's guide on the newest ugly duckling of the verse, the Drake Clipper. Through this video, I'll be comparing it to what I believe is its closest competitors in the daily driver category. Specifically, the Cutlass Red and Black stand as ships that can fulfill a lot of the role of the Clipper, but just in their own way. Of course, the Clipper probably has the most unique design in the entire lineup, with the look so ugly that it wraps around all the way to awesome. So as a ship with the most amazing array of tools, how does the Drake Clipper stack up, and what are the compromises? Let's start with the tour. This ship looks like someone took a tiny home and taped two giant wings to it. Along this left side, we have the two smaller wing engines and a huge landing foot to stabilize this tower of a ship. Right behind that, we have our fuel port. Around the back, we have two enormous thrusters stacked on top of each other. Coming around to the front, we have the front of the tower and its cockpit, as well as two entrances. One will take you straight to the second floor, but we'll be taking the ramp here. I especially love the fact that the doors to the ramp are also asymmetrical, just like the wings. Walking into the ship, we're met with the traditional Drake styling with black and yellow accents. Stepping into the bottom room, we have our cargo grid, which holds a total of 12 SCU. This is the same as a Cutlass Red, but far less than most other general daily drivers. This immediately eliminates the Clipper if carrying vehicles like a Cyclone or carrying a decent amount of cargo is important to you. As consolation though, I believe this ramp will also be used to hold ground vehicles of some sort, such as a Pulse. This is completely doable due to the alternate entrance through the elevator, of course. Going up this ladder in the back then brings us to the utility floor. We are first greeted with this absolutely beautiful view of the main thrusters from the other side. I don't think I could ever climb up this ladder without stopping to stare. On the right side of the ship, we have our first set of components, a battery and two size 1 power plants. Next is our first utility room, medical. Here, we find a fire extinguisher on the left side beside our medgel slots. It's also worth noting that nowhere in this room is there space to store extra medgel. You will have to bring it up from the cargo bay before using the medbed every time you run out. This brings us to the Tier 3 bed itself, which I really like because they've styled it in the traditional Drake way. It looks almost nothing like a sterile medbed. Instead, it looks like they just grabbed the closest bed and stuffed it into the ship. Also, the choice for red floors that you can't see the blood is chef's kiss. This is one of the biggest selling points of the ship in my opinion. Star Citizen is a game of tedium and waiting. So much so that if you die doing a mission and your regen point was set in a different system, you may as well just log off for the day, since it's going to take you a half hour just to get back to where you were. A medbed changes everything. It allows you to freely engage with the content that Star Citizen provides without worrying about the tedium of returning if something goes wrong. There's no better quality of life upgrade in the entire game. If you compare this ship to others that have a medbed, you'd be starting at the Pisces with a much smaller and far less capable ship, and then the Cutlass Red, which is, I think, this ship's closest competitor. I'll go more into depth with this comparison later, but other than that, you are now at much larger ships like the Apollo, or ships that can carry a Nursa like the Starlancer. Overall, the value of a medbed cannot be overstated. On the other wall, we have our medical terminal, as well as a shelf behind some doors and a personal locker. I do wish it had come with some med pens like the C8R Pisces, but that's far from a deal breaker, and may have even been off-brand for Drake. Stepping into the next room, we have our crafting center. Honestly, we have no idea right now what we'll be able to craft here, but I don't think that it would be anything different compared to the item fabricators that we will be able to purchase from stores later this year. These were announced at CitizenCon, and we know that we'll be able to place them in our hangars or on cargo grids of any ship. If those are going to be similar to this, then expect to be crafting weapons and armor in this ship soon. While that feature does seem really exciting at first, the fact that I'll be able to turn almost any ship into the game into a crafting/fabricating ship with an easy purchase from an in-game store does severely lower this feature's value. Take the Cutlass Black for example. Once you put a fabricator in it, you'll be able to do all the same crafting, but still keep the versatility of the larger cargo bay to carry vehicles or more cargo than a Clipper. A better comparison is the Cutlass Red, as I mentioned before, because of its medbeds. Here, installing a fabricator may take up the last little bit of cargo space, but we're really not too sure yet. All in all, this will be a cool addition to aid in your travels when you run out of ammo or weapons, but don't purchase this ship based on a feature that will be available on most other ships very soon. The final room on this floor has a suit locker and a gun rack. This has now become standard issue on most ships of all sizes. The suit locker will be useful as you travel to dangerous climates, but honestly, this isn't a whole lot different than just storing your gear in cargo boxes down below. The elevator in the very front of the ship is the one that goes all the way to the ground, and will likely be the entrance that you use most often as you get in and out of the ship. The ladder on the left will take us to the final floor. Here in the cockpit, we have some of our smaller components. The left has life support and computers, while the right has a cooler and a relay. Right behind that, we have 2 jump seats for emergency situations where you just want to help transport a couple friends. Keep in mind that this ship may not have the life support to sustain 3 bodies, so don't treat these like crew spots. Heading 1 room back, we have our habitation complete with a sink, food processor, dining area, and a bed. We also have a brand new unique shower toilet combination that even includes a leaking shower, perfectly on brand for Drake. While these rooms and kitchens are basically never used, I find that they are vital to defining the atmosphere of any ship. No one ever sits in the kitchen of an Argo raft, for example, but everyone knows and will tell you how cozy it is and how it makes the ship feel like a home. The Clipper's habitation is no different. While sparse, it still feels like it will serve you well as a safe place away from the dangers of the verse. Lastly on this floor, we have the engineering section, which I think is a visual marvel. The left side has a size 1 radar and 2 size 1 shields. Along the right side, we have a fire extinguisher, engineering terminal, and our gravity generator. In the back, a view of those gorgeous engines again, with the quantum drive directly above. It's worth noting that the only way up to this floor is the stairs, which would make bringing any replacement components extremely difficult. Drake thought of this, of course, building in a hatch that you open with a satisfying lever on either the middle or top floor. It's from this hatch that you could bring up components that you may one day be fabricating on board. Finally, this brings us to our pilot seat, which gives us a view that feels obviously Drake, tiny spinning fan included. It's not the best view in the world, but for what you will likely be using the ship for, it will be good enough for most of your daily activities, and serviceable enough for some basic combat. Speaking of which, what kind of weaponry do you have available on the Clipper? In typical Drake fashion, DPS is not something that the Clipper lacks, with 4 size 3 weapons. This is the same as the Cutlass series, and more than the Spirits, for example. Different than the Cutlass Red is also an above-average missile loadout with a huge amount of versatility with its 8 total missile racks that could each carry up to 4 size 1s, 2 size 2s, or 1 size 3 missile. This is up to 32 size 1 missiles. This compares to about 48 on the Cutty Black, but none on the Cutlass Red. Of course, all the DPS in the world doesn't matter if you aren't alive to deal it. So what does durability look like on the Clipper? Unfortunately, not great. This is likely the biggest weakness of the Clipper, with only 2 size 1 shields compared to at least 1 size 2 shield on all other ships of this class and size. In fact, the Zeus ships have several size 2 shields. Even 1 size 2 shield provides about 30% more shield HP than you get on the Clipper. The hull HP is similarly poor, with only 6,000 HP spread across its incredibly wide and blocky proportions. If someone can hit the broadside of a barn, they are going to hit you, and it will hurt. Of that there is no doubt. Of course, you could try and maneuver the ship to avoid damage, but the Clipper definitely lives up to its shape in that department as well. Its straight line speed is a little worse than the Cutlass ships, with its pitch and yaw being similar to those ships. It does have a pretty good roll rate, all things considered, but rolling in a ship with this shape does risk increasing your profile if the opponent has an angle on you. All of this is capped off by the fact that your engineering is split between 2 different floors, and anyone who has ever gotten stuck in a ladder animation when desperately trying to get in or out of a ship knows that that can be a recipe for disaster. Overall, I think durability is one of the weak points for this ship, so I wouldn't be getting this ship if PvP or harder PvE is important to you. Enough DPS to be dangerous, but not enough durability to live long enough to deal it. So the question of recommendation for the Clipper is a little tough for some. In a lot of ways, the Cutlass Red is basically a superior Clipper at a cheaper price to boot. Keep in mind it also has more quantum fuel and a size 2 quantum drive compared to the size 1 on the Clipper. The Cutlass Red also has 2 tier 3 beds, can support more crew, has better durability, and should be able to fit a fabricator. Picking a daily driver specifically, though, is not so straightforward. This is the ship that you'll be experiencing the entire game with. This is going to be your companion and the lens through which you see the verse. You have to take into account how a ship really makes you feel to fly it every day. The Clipper benefits tremendously by how the ship team has grown since it made the Cutlass series. The difference in polish is astronomical, and the Clipper is just that right amount of ugly that its pull is undeniable. The ship is incredible. you are not making the wrong move by picking it. So if the cargo of a C1 or a Cutlass Black isn't as important to you, then the Clipper really is a solo player's dream. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.